Part of the gravity irrigation business within our service plan forward work is to understand what capital and maintenance investments we expect to undertake across our system. So Golden Murray Water has introduced a channel-by-channel localised planning concept to improve how we invest capital upgrades of our assets. This methodology uses local data characteristics and trends in a subsystem or pod of our network, and then considers short, medium or long-term treatment options that can be put in place to suit the local needs and circumstance of the particular pod or channel. The costs and the life extensions achieved by those particular works at the pod level are well understood, and therefore we can accurately forecast future costs based on what type of treatment option we want to apply to our assets in each local area. Putting all this work together allows us to create local pod plans where we can have a map of planned works, location by location across the region. These pod plans will be a great tool for us to discuss with customers and other stakeholders what our planned works are at a local level over the next several years. And the interaction with customers and field staff will ensure that we correct any errors or anomalies in that information and planning, so we can ensure that our detailed planning into the next water plan reflects the local need. Down in the bottom right-hand corner of this page is just a demonstration of how we look at the investment in particular individual assets based on the classification of the local pod and the criticality of the asset from a service and a safety point of view. The next page just shows the typical look of what a pod plan might actually look like when we come out to engage with customers or other stakeholders, which just has some basic statistical information about that local part of the system and provides a basis to identify future capital works and what treatments will be applied to each asset, be it a channel structure, a meter or a regulator. It's important in all of this that we use a life cycle driven approach, so we need to think about whether we want to upgrade an asset only at the end of its life when it fails, or whether we want to intervene in advance of failure to refurbish and extend the life of the asset. The benefits of a systematic inspection program in this regard are significant because they provide us with a continual update on the condition of the asset and ensure that where possible we get ahead of failures, or at least understand when failure is likely to occur. We then need to code and record our failure mechanism accurately so that we understand the ways in which each particular asset might fail and how and when. So our planning timeline that we bring all this information together on looks like this. We establish an overall forecast over the longer term, up to 10 years and potentially beyond. We look at whether we want to wait till end of life before we upgrade the asset or whether we want to intervene before the end of life to extend the life and refurbish. We also, from time to time, will have new assets being installed in our system. Once we have a short list of candidates for the upcoming investment period, we look at each individual asset and assess it. We assess its condition. We consider options for its upgrade based on short-term, long-term or medium-term treatment, and also considering whether we can actually rationalise and do away with the asset. We then do desktop costing and adjust our planning detail accordingly for what our proposed works are for the asset. We then move into the planning and delivery phase, do a function design, detailed design of the works and construct the upgrade. The channel-by-channel approach and the pod plan localised thinking has changed the way we forecast our future costs for the business. If we look at what we did previously, which is purely an age-based profile across all of our assets and replace them in full for long life, regardless of their location or regardless of their importance to our system, we had previously projected a $95 million spend in capital over 8 years over the next 2 water plans. The channel-by-channel approach, where we target the level of investment based on local needs and we look for alternative treatments which allow the asset life to be extended without full upgrade, we achieve a significant reduction in cost of about a third, so $95 million down to $60 million over the 8 years of the next 2 water plans. We've also applied some smoothing to this expenditure so that we don't have peaks and troughs, and this allows us to ensure that we are providing the right level of investment at all the local areas across the GMID based on local characteristics and needs and importance to our service performance, and ensure that we have a smooth spend from year to year and don't have jumps in cost or price. From a maintenance point of view, the major challenges we have in the upcoming service planning period is to the upkeep of the modernised asset componentry, the gearboxes and electronic pieces and solar panels and so on that are connected with our modernised asset equipment, and also the weed removal and desilting of our channels and waterways. These are the major challenges ahead in the next decade. In terms of the modernised asset componentry, we want to look at all the bits and pieces that make up our regulators and meters, understand how long each component will last, what the failure distribution curve looks like, and what we can expect in terms of a cost cycle over the next 5, 10 to 20 years. For example, if we look at the gearboxes, which are a part of our regulated fleet, we have an age distribution of when they were installed as part of modernisation of the irrigation system. So we know a large number of these were installed about 10 to 15 years ago, so we will need to understand when and how they will be due for refurbishment or replacement into the future. In terms of our channels and waterways, we need to understand how often we're having weeds and silting issues in the channels, and this can be understood by looking at our asset system work orders and problem codes to understand the cost of dealing with these now and what that cost will be into the future as we continue to manage our system moving forward. We're obviously also on the lookout for innovative ways to deal with the capital and maintenance works that lie ahead of us. We've considered different ways of upgrading our channel banks. For example, the channel on this slide shows where the in-situ material has been used to upgrade the channel bank. We haven't imported clay from other localities. We've used the bed and the banks, reformed them, and then placed rock on top to provide an asset with at least a 50-year plus life at less than half the cost of what a full clay-based remodelling would have been. So a significant saving of over 50% of what would have been the cost for still a 50-year plus life, which gives us flexibility into the future then to upgrade in future based on circumstances when the time has come in 40 to 50 years. Another example is this is an even simpler method where we just apply short-term treatment. We just reprofile the bank using existing silts, no rock protection. So this costs about $50 a metre, so about a quarter of the cost of a full remodel. So again, this may only last 10 to 20 years, but at a quarter of the cost of a full upgrade, it gives us flexibility into the future to ensure we're not overinvested in locations where we don't need to be. What are the discussion points coming out of all of this from our point of view? We'd like your views on what we should consider in prioritising and cost scaling our asset upgrades at the channel and pod level, in other words, at the localised level. We'd also seek your views on where there might be opportunities for further innovation and testing out different approaches to upkeep of our channel system assets. And in terms of the pod plans we're developing for our capital investment, we would ask whether you would like to see these, with these pod plans of future capital upgrades, be something you would like to view and discuss in terms of upgrades in your local area. What level of information would you like to know about what's happening into the future? Thank you.